Greetings, everybody. It's Jim. Every so often a game comes in that hits on all cylinders. I mean, I got a game here that plays in under an hour, is solo playable, which is my review is based on my play on that. It is educational to the max, and not just educational for you on the subject matter, but it is gripping for even younger players. I'm talking as young as 12 years old. So yet another game that you must have in your library if you care about growing the wargaming community or planting those seeds for later on in life. So today I am going to be talking to you about why you should be playing The Shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle Games. Now, the first thing you're probably going to say when you pick up the box is, holy cow, I bet you dollars to donuts there's a beautiful game inside here. And you'd be right? Your perceived value, as they say in the sales industry, is that, there is something beautiful in there. And all perception would be absolutely correct. The box ain't lying. The cover's absolutely not being deceptive. There is something as beautiful inside as you're feeling on the outside. And I do say feel because it is that perceived value. That's what they call it in sales. First time I ever felt like something like that was when I picked up Berserker from Flying Buffalo, the Great Lake Rick Loomis working with Fred Saberhagen on this game. But this box was really solid, and I'm like, this only costs $6.95 to this day. This game, this beautiful little game, costs only $6.95. Link down below. Go ahead and grab it. I just said that. I took a tangent there because, I mean, that's what this box reminds me of. So definitely, perceived value is correct. So here we have the horizontal map board, and it's absolutely gorgeous. No surprises there, right? And it's half height of a normal game board. So if you can fit a normal game board on your table, you can fit this just fine. And the game sets up really quickly. I mean, there are a few pieces in there, but it's not overly done at all. And when they hit the map board, everything's got enough space by far, okay? None of it's crowded, so it's a beautiful little map board. So what's the object of the game? Well, let's talk about that. So it's the Americans against the forces of Tripolitania. And how the Americans win is basically, the first one is just to take over Tripoli. They take over Tripoli, they win. Simple enough. And then the other one is if they can play this treaty card by the end of the game. It's playable on the last 8 turns of the game, and then if all these conditions are met, they win. And it's if it's the fall of 1805 or later, of course, that's the last 8 turns of the game. The cities of Algiers, Tangier, or Tunis, all on the left-hand side, are all at peace. The city of Dern, the first red circle from the right, has been captured, and there are no Tripolitanian frigates in the harbor of Tripoli, okay, to represent a lack of force. And so at that point, a treaty has been signed, and the Americans win. So how can the Tripolitanian player win? Well, there's 3 ways. One, basically they sink 4 American frigates, or they get 12 gold coins from pirate raids, or neither player accomplishes any of those things, and in that case it would be kind of a tie, which actually doesn't end up being a tie because it means the Tripolitanian player wins. Okay, so that's how that goes. Now, the best way to describe the Shores of Tripoli is that it is a slow burn game. Nothing gets taken care of overnight, okay? It's about accumulating advantages turn from turn towards your goal. Now, that works out differently for both sides. The American player having to take over Tripoli, or at least Dern, and being able to play the treaty card, they got kind of an all or nothing thing going on. They're trying to build up their advantages, but then when the timing's right, they strike and they try to win. While the Tripolitanian player has a little bit more of a time on their side kind of thing, where they they can, even on the last turn, they can reach one of their goals. All right. Now, nothing really says it is a slow burn game more than the way combat is, and it's really quite simple. When forces meet, frigates roll 2 dice. Every other unit in the game rolls 1 die. You only hit on 6s, and there's only 1 round of combat. After that's gone, everybody goes back. So basically, you could roll 12 dice and only 2 units go away. So as you can see, that's gonna for the American player especially, they gotta totally whittle away at the Tripolitanian forces. They got to peg them all the time. But yet, at the same time, they got to keep the Tripolitanian player honest by keeping them away from their pirate raids in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Otherwise, they're just going to get those 12 coins real quick, okay, if they just let them run roughshod over there. So it's really a tight little game in that note. Now, one thing I liked about this game also is the solitaire aspect of play. And I don't mean that in and of itself, even though it's fine. I really like it because it let me play the game and learn it at the same time. And that's really important, especially since we get games, we get them at home, you know, we don't necessarily have our buddy around to go figure things out with. And actually, this is actually quite easier. Two heads are a bit better than one doesn't apply here because there's usually only one rule book, right? And I can tell you, it's very important for games like this because Wizard Kings, one of Columbia Games' games, has a solo scenario in it. And it is very good because it forces you, the only way you can win is to understand the subtleties of the system. So it takes a little practice, but then by the time you're done, you get the epiphany is like, oh, there's something more to this war game rather than just throwing forces at each other. Okay, there's a little bit of surrounding, a little bit of movement, a little bit more tactics. Okay, so and the same thing happens here. When I was playing, and you play as the American player against the Tripolitanian player, or the T-Bot as they call it, and I was doing pretty good blowing stuff up, but I was not really paying attention that, yeah, I got to take over Tripoli, or at least I got to take over Dern so I could play the treaty card. And it's like, oh, if you look at the forces that you get for the infantry, they're not going to be enough. You have to have your ships come in and pelt these forces. And so it's like, luckily I got to do so in time. But yeah, that was it was one of those things that you play it just at first you're just figuring out the basic rules, and then you figure out the subtleties of the system, and I enjoyed that. Now, right now, if I had one wargaming wish, it would be that this game gets placed in every history classroom across America. I mean, it's got a 12-page booklet inside of it that it talks about the conflict itself and a few designer notes from Kevin Bertram as well. Because truthfully, I mean, history is boring to a lot of kids. It was when I was a kid. The only time I've ever heard of the shores of Tripoli was the Marine Corps hymn, the Halls of Montezuma, right? That was about it. I didn't know anything about the conflict even to this day. This really opened my eyes to a lot of it. You know, I didn't know anything about the conflict. So this is really an interesting game. All types of gamers, hardcore gamer to the casual gamer to the kid. Definitely a worthwhile buy. It'll stay on your shelf for a long time and get a lot of play because somebody in your family is going to pick it up. I'll see you guys next video.